Hi, my name is Zaza and this is a presented summary of Task 1 in Edu645 Training Needs Analysis. Let's get started. First, let's look at what a Training Needs Analysis or TNA is. A TNA is an assessment tool or process where needs of the organisation, task and personnel are identified and analysed in order to address and enhance performance. Essentially, a TNA helps to diagnose or pinpoint where a problem exists and why it may be affecting performance of the organisation. A TNA takes three perspectives into consideration: the organisation's perspective, the personnel's perspective, and the task perspective. A TNA may look at expectations that an organisation has of its personnel, the internal and external standards the organisation may have to adhere to, and the training the organisation provides. When considering personnel, a TNA may be aimed at investigating their current skills and skill level, their past and current performance, and their professional learning mindset. A TNA may also be assessing the task to ascertain what requirements are necessary to complete the task and what prior qualifications may be needed. So why do we perform a TNA? There are three main reasons. 1. To problem solve. 2. To review resources, and 3. To ensure growth and evolution within an organisation. Let's look at problem solving first. An organisation may perform a TNA in order to investigate existing problems or to explore potential ones. Potential recommendations can then be put forwards for consideration to bridge a performance gap. In other words, a TNA can help an organisation's expectations become a reality. Secondly, an organisation may perform a TNA to review the use of their resources. A TNA can help to ensure appropriate and optimal use of these resources. An organisation with inappropriate use of resources may not be optimising performance or maximising profit. Thirdly, TNAs can also be performed regularly to help an organisation's growth and evolution. Regular analyses help them stay relevant and current, avoiding stagnation. It maintains constant evolution of training and assessment techniques and keeps the organisation up to par with their competition. Now, let's take a look at the organisation we performed the TNA on for this study. The organisation is a local combative school that has a reality-based self-defence instructors class. Essentially, all students in this class are working towards eventual instructorship, a process that normally takes 3 to 5 years. During their learning, they progressively move through levels of qualifications, and each level has a specific syllabus and assessment requirements. Here is a simple graphic showing how the student instructors progress through their stages of learning and the number of hours they are expected to dedicate each week to this training. Students work in real classes under supervision to practice using their skills and knowledge in a practical context. This is a typical format of a class. An instructor oversees the class of students and may be assisted by an assistant instructor. Coaches and trainers are expected to work with some autonomy following basic instructions. Both formative and summative assessments are performed regularly in order to ensure feedback is given. Here is a breakdown of the issue being addressed by this TNA. The current generation of coaches are not showing required levels of competency despite having been at this stage of training longer than all previous generations. They are unable to work autonomously. The organisation has tried changing training methods to address the problem but has yielded inconsistent results. On to how we performed this TNA. We had 3 basic steps: collect the data, interpret the data and analyse the results, then make relevant recommendations. Let's look a little further into this process. Data was collected in different ways. Firstly, by looking. We observed the coach's performance and interactions in a classroom. We also reviewed syllabus documents and assessment requirements and guidelines. Next, we asked and listened. Interviews with the coaches were conducted in order to gauge their needs and the professional learning mindset, and also to compare responses between individuals. Speaking with the organisation gave us more background information and helped us learn about the task, expectations, and standards. The results obtained were then compared and collated. A gap analysis was performed. Group and individual performance and training issues were defined and isolated. Known solutions and strategies were looked into, and new solutions and strategies were formulated. Recommendations made had to fulfill certain criteria. First, They have to be relevant to the organisation's context and specific issues. It should also fit with the existing training program. Next, the recommendations have to be realistic. It was essential that all potential recommendations are within the bounds of reality and not too idealistic to achieve. Next, they have to be accessible. The organisation has to determine its effectiveness and make changes if necessary. Lastly, the recommendations have to be progressive. Nothing overly drastic should be suggested. If big changes are to be made, they should be done gradually. The organisation should also have the ability to build on these changes. Now, let's look at the results of this TNA. Personnel data showed very different professional mindsets between the two coaches. Their competency levels were quite different even though the training had been the same for them. The competent coach displayed a higher level of self-awareness and reflection skills and was more willing and able to communicate their needs. Organisation data revealed some interesting details. The initial vetting process for the current generation of coaches was different from before due to various reasons. Recent behavioural issues had resulted in the organisation having to use conflict management and taking resolution actions. The organisation works to provide a transformative learning environment where learners should experience a shift in their worldview and develop as a person. Task data confirmed that each level of learning has a specified set of assessment requirements. These requirements are provided to the learners at every stage of learning in both hard copy or verbal information discussed in classes. From this data, we can draw a couple of conclusions. 1. Despite a consistent, stable syllabus delivered and requirements of the task and assessments being readily available, the coaches are not showing similar levels of competencies. 2. Information from the organisation reveals deeper issues relating to professional development of soft skills and professional learning mindset. These deeper personnel issues are directly impacting on a coach's learning and performance capability. The recommendations made to the organisation are as follows. An increased focus on professional development to impart skills such as critical thinking, reflection, and communication to develop self-directed learners. This is intended to teach coaches how to think rather than what to think. No change should be made to the technical training provided until further assessment can be done. A continuous TNA should be performed by the organisation to assess if further changes may be required later. The organisation should also maintain a flexible, adaptive approach when continuing to address this issue. What were some points of reflection after this TNA was concluded? 1. Obtaining all three perspectives from the organisation, the personnel and the task was so vital in ensuring a balanced perspective and recommendations that took all three into consideration. 2. How important it is to approach this TNA with an open mind in order to conduct a useful TNA without any preconceived views. And 3. The results were unexpected but thought-invoking. Technical performance was being affected by personal skills, highlighting the importance of employability and not just formal qualifications in people. That concludes my presentation of Edu645 Task 1, the Training Needs Analysis. Thank you for your time and I hope you've enjoyed it.